So before starting the second panel discussion, I would request Professor Balram to kindly facilitate Ramit sir with a memento as a symbol of gesture from our side, gratitude and
Ravi.
Okay. So I will be very conscious about the time limit. So let me start it with me only, following a 1 or 2 minute deadline. And then I will request the speakers to talk for about 5 minutes. And then it is going to be left to you all. Okay. Let that be an important part of this session where you're driving the session by asking a lot of questions. So I have only this much to say. I think you have already heard me for 15 hours recently. Let me not make it worse any further. So on May 10th, what I wish to say here is I was very happy on May 10th when I saw from a back end quite some manufacturing aspects of India suddenly on the front end. So more than the Rafaels and the Sams, I think that day was a lot about unknown technologies and of course the BrahMos etc. and all causing enough damage that by 3 o'clock there was even a request for ceasefire and every other thing that you are aware of. So that also has been in my mind for so much time that when can India really be a knowledge center for operations and supply chain management and manufacturing particularly? That is, at least by 2047, can we at least have our share of the knowledge system? That is, if we are about 20% of the population of the world, I don't know how much exactly we are at the moment, but at least can we control 20% of the knowledge? Because we all know who owns the knowledge and who owns the technology also runs the world. I mean, just being very coy on this is not going to really help us. I thought this could be something which I could start off with, but I'm leaving it to the guests to speak whatever they feel is appropriate given the topic, and we could start maybe in this sequence only. Let me not take any further time. We could stick to a 5 minute deadline and then leave it to the students for their questions. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, it's glad to be here. I'll start from a little bit for the introduction because many of us interested in knowing that what I'm taking care of. I started my career from supply chain professional. It was not in manufacturing at all. So it's basically leading a supply chain. Then from supply chain, I moved to different roles into a hardcore manufacturing setup, which was a UK-based manufacturing. I traveled all across world. It was around 28 locations in the world. Being there, leading the India operation, then I moved to industry called Elcobel, which was again some of my colleagues has already talked about that. That is again the India largest and the world largest Elcobel industry. From then, I moved to Jubilant, which is the largest QSR. So when we are talking about a supply chain, I think that's the backbone of Jubilant. Being worked in Jubilant for almost 2.5 years, now currently I moved just 1 week back to a company Agristo, where I'm leading the India operations end to end. And that is when I got the invite, I specifically accepted that when I saw the topic because that was more into the manufacturing and what we want to do in 2047. So when I saw my current role, that's what we are going to bring into India as a part of joining as an Agristo. Agristo is a Belgium-based manufacturing, which is the pioneer into the Europe. Now what we are doing in India, we are blending the processes of Belgium into a India technology, and we have moved on to the guarding, you can say more or less a guided farming, and then bringing a high-tech technology. Now if I talk about supply chain, which is the topic all about, into the different industry, if I say, supply chain has moved more from the technical to a strategic tool right now. A lot of people have spoke from the morning about digital, about JIT, about inventory, about Hejunka, about many different tools. But I feel from my experience, everything behind this is the people. We can bring as much as tools, we can bring as much as digital technology, we can bring as much as process. Unless we have a mindset, like what we wanted to bring in, unless we have a thought process that where we want it to be, none of the digital twin, none of the technology can work. So that's what I'll sum up here. Like, and if we see like what we are aiming for, and if we people are ready to adopt that technology, I think any digital twin can work, any digital technology can work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to make it easier for the professor. I'm not going to take 5 minutes. And,
Please take 5 minutes. Otherwise we'll be in another problem.
so, actually, I'm very interested in hearing what questions you guys may have, and we'll, I would like to have more time for that. I have more than 25 years of experience. I have sales and marketing, supply chain, transformation, all that kind of experience. And I'm pretty sure, half of you already got in touch with me on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty sure you know that already. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Henkel is a 150-year-old company. We are a German company, and I'm pretty sure you know all of that as well. This is a very resourceful class. Supply chain, very interesting topic, very very current topic. I think we came to prominence during this COVID phenomenon, and then this vessel got stuck in Suez, and everybody knew about supply chain suddenly. Before that, we used to work in the shadows, and suddenly everybody started talking about the supply chain is broken. What do we do to fix it, and so on. So, to me, I think, speaking to this elite group of students, I would say this is the best time to be in supply chain. So, congratulations for choosing the right careers. With that, Professor, I'll give 2 minutes extra to the students. Yeah, but later on.
Okay. Thank you.
Is it working? Well, thank you very much. First of all, I'm honored to sit alongside Professor Balram because he's a very honored professor. We have been very good time. I'm the first batch PGPEX-VLM student sitting here in front of you, talking about supply chain, feeling proud. And I have 25 years of experience in automotive industry, through and through automotive. Worked in companies like Maruti, Daimler, now CNH. In manufacturing and supply chain functionality. See guys, I would be very honest, life will not be easy. Okay? Sitting here in AC rooms with all blazers and suits will not happen, maybe. A small fastener can stop the line. A component from Bosch may not come because you have not settled the problem, pricing with them. Yeah? The vessel stops in Suez Canal, you run around and start fixing the strategy, how to get the container. China fights with US, you have been asked what's your backup plan. So what you study here, you have to apply them in practical sense. Any single disruption in production line, the plant manager comes to your MD, complains about part is not there, I stop the production. Are you getting me? So we can always talk about supply chain, good things. It's a challenging field, and that's the beauty of it. Because you feel proud the moment you solve it. You feel happy that I am a problem solver, because then it becomes your habit. Everything becomes your habit. People come, people approach you whenever they are stuck, but you start solving them. And all these are mediums, like digitization or Kanban or just in time. There is no fixed rule. Just in time has to be done based on part category. Every part cannot be just in time. There are fasteners which has to be kept for 3 days inventory, 2 days inventory, 5 days inventory. There are components which has to be just in sequence, like tires, like batteries, seats, they have to be just in sequence, not even just in time. Time is okay. First model requires this automatic seat. Second model requires the manual seat. This is how life goes. So when you learn these theories, be prepared to apply it on the field. And it's a very exciting field, I must say. So get ready. Yeah. So try to ask questions, try to learn things, because life is going to be tough, not easy. Thank you very much.
Like Pritiman, you scared them to death.
That was the reality.
All right. So I think just leave a couple of thoughts with you. One is of course one of the first 2x2s that I saw was something which I felt was very interesting that I saw from Professor Balram himself in 2009. But anyway, I'm just trying to kind of extend that a little. See, you have known knowns, you have known unknowns, and then you have unknown unknowns, right? So you can't possibly predict everything that's going to happen, right? But if I look at x, y, z axis, right? On the x-axis you have probability, and you have y-axis you have probability of something happening, right? Some event. Then y-axis you have the impact of that, which you already know. Then the z-axis, which is that's the most difficult axis. That is the detectability. How can you detect something is going to happen? COVID, do you know what did happen? Right? It's a black spot. Right? So I think as focus, most of you should be spending not on unknown unknowns we don't know anyway. Right? But known unknowns, try to prevent them from happening. Try to look at ways in which something can go wrong. You said some one fastener not reaching on time can take lives for a toss. Anyway, so I think only one word I will use. Anticipate, anticipate, anticipate. Thinking is the most difficult thing. Right? Take a big chart of paper and start writing down what all will happen. Right? In your mind, it should be a mind map. Only then you will be able to solve some of these things. I'll just take a pause there.
So I think we will soon get into the question answer. But I thought maybe since everyone has done before time, I would probably make this audience, this session a little light by just saying in recent times I have been watching a serial by name El Chapo in Netflix. And to me that comes across as a very great example of supply chain management. Only problem is I don't want to describe what the product is. The demand is always there in the market and these guys are so great. And when I ended up reading a little bit, one of the things which I read was that this El Chapo was so particular about deliveries on time that if the guy fails to deliver, he is no more. Okay, maybe sometimes I feel that's the way things happen. If you really want to execute, I hope I'm not exceeding the reasons why you have called me here, but really speaking, I think. No one discusses about these supply chains, but they seem to be telling in some way that they can deliver. Okay, the guys have not gone to any B school. Many of them have not even completed 10th standard, but they seem to be delivering that America still doesn't have an answer how to deal with them. So now, can we open it to the audience, to all the VLM students and everyone seated here, and you can specifically ask who are, okay, that is instead of just leaving a question, it would be nice if you could also point out to whom you would like it to be answered, okay, and don't be concentrating only on one of the speakers. Please give questions to everyone.
I think, Professor, we can have two things on our hand by supply chain,
Okay.
either a mic or a gun.
Okay. No, please don't take that seriously. Whatever I said.
I'd like to go first. So, I have one question. Like since COVID, we are facing one challenge. Since COVID, there is a port congestion going on continuously because of some reason. Sometimes earlier it was COVID and it suddenly everything started. After that, there is a war situation, right? Then after that, Red Sea block. So, because of all this situation, port contingency is increasing. Right now, the load is on the major ports who has the more capacity. Buzan and other ports, but there are small ports which are available, and but they cannot take the larger vessels, so that you need to send the shipments on the smaller vessels with the smaller containers. But that doesn't go into the plan of your calculation when you do the supply chain planning and do logistic costing. So I know it's kind of unknown, which is not predictable. So I would like to know your views on it.
Do you have a specifically you have
Anyone
someone?
means who would like to take this?
Okay, then we'll have to go. Who would like to?
I can answer this because we already faced this challenge during COVID as well as during the Russia-Ukraine war as well. There are many uncertainties. Food is one such example. During during the Russia-Ukraine, the Ukraine has been a major producer for pig iron. And maybe many of you may not know it, but there was third largest pig iron producer. So pig iron is for the casting components. China is the major source of casting. That is 50% of the total casting is done by China. India contributes some around 10%. So see, if you see the plotting of the congestion near China eastern coast, it's like all the red dots are there, and the whole wall is not even matching that red dot. So the congestions will be there, and it took us, and the logistics cost has gone by 1.9 times, just double. So you cannot predict few things. It's very easy, but then you cannot predict that, okay, the logistics cost will go by double the current logistics cost, or if suppose tomorrow China attacks Taiwan, then semiconductor can be a challenge. So there are few things which we can always discuss. We keep on discussing because this is what our job is. The more you predict, the better you are placed. But few things, then you have to act fast. The agility, the kind of flexibility you bring to the system is what is required. As a leader, if you see a concern and you are not predicted, then how fast you can, solve that challenge. So that's another way of looking at things.
I'll give you an example. Right? So if you are in a high-rise building, you'll see a lot of fires happening in India. You name it, everywhere there's a fire. Problem is, fire can happen anywhere. We always think, "Arey, fire yahan pe nahi hona." But I think companies go to the extent of checking how many fire extinguishers are there per square, whatever, and what type of fire extinguisher. You always know that iceberg has 1/10 only above, right? The Japanese say that the 99% of the accidents you miss are also accidents because somehow it didn't happen. So what you should do is you should leave, I'll say this, you should leave no stone unturned. If you want to do a fire check, go to the extent of checking everything, how many fire extinguishers are there, where are they placed, can the response time be okay, if that's the exit door, can I actually move there, check everything. So that's why I said, check the level of exposure plus the problems, the answers if something goes wrong. Right? The vulnerability plus exposure, what you have to check. And there's no, you can extend that to any situation. I'll give you one more very quick example. Like Denso was a key supplier to Toyota. Right? We are trying to localize the parts way back in 2004 or 5. Right? There's this German team they had made a great starter alternator motor. Right? They came and then they want to sell it to Toyota. They would not buy. The engineer came 10 times, checked from Toyota, right, to change the supplier from Denso to Bosch. They came 15 times. 2 years they did localization. Then last time he gave a report. And that report finally he has said a cost. You will not really know what is the reason. That guy came, he saw one pigeon on the starter alternator assembly line. He said the pigeon dropping may fall. You can't imagine that that may be the reason why they may reject it. I'll give you a very extreme example, but that's a fact, real example.
Would you both also like to add? You could start. Okay.
Now, I'll also add with the live, he just gave an example of pigeon, like in a food factory, we know that many times the goods get rejected if you see the part of the audit, because that's not allowed inside that. So coming back specific to your stuff, I think one of the solution which we can see, because currently also we are heavily dependent upon the things which is coming from overseas. And when we say, I think when we heard from the manufacturing into the beginning, I think from the strategies perspective, India is still focusing a lot on the manufacturing strategy, like we're talking about the government is sponsoring that Gati Shakti, when we're talking about the PLC. But what we are doing more specifically from the supply chain perspective, I think that is still not that turned sector with the same way as the manufacturing. So I think more and more now we are bringing this topic as a dire need to talk about, where we are seeing that how can we more make in India, how can we see like how can we develop our own infrastructure also agile, so that at least we can be competitive into the market. And why I can say more about that, because when we say from my previous experience from the QSR, for us the biggest challenge is to reach to the every nook and corner of the India, because we are being the largest QSR, we are into the every small village also we wanted to be there, and we do on like every third day delivery, and that which is managed by largely by the supply chain. So that's what is the more in terms of the building the infrastructure locally, and more India dependent rather than is this still the overseas dependent. That can be another addition which can resolve the issue.
Yeah, so I probably want to talk about the balance that supply chain has to bring. So especially to the port question that you had asked. Typically a supply chain has to bring in a balance between service, cash, and cost, right? So we must provide a very good service at a reasonable cost. And then, of course, you guys are all MBA students. You know that companies go bankrupt because of cash, right? Working capital. So it's very important to have this balance. And when in reference to your port topic, there will always come a time, we have to service, right? We must service, we must make sure that we are finding innovative solutions, no matter the port congestion, no matter whatever problems there are. And beyond a point, so we can only do it up to a point, we can only do it till the time the market can, till the time the customer can absorb the cost of that. So that balance has to be very importantly found. The other point I want to make is, creativity. So we can throw all kinds of money at a problem. We can do whatever. The difference that you guys will bring to a problem is the creative solution that you'll bring to it. The more creative solution you can bring is the competitive advantage that you take, to a problem. Otherwise, of course, there are so many textbook solutions available. There's so much available, but it's your personal creativity, how well you can think about, how well you can, so there's so much information available today, right? YouTube and whatnot, and Chat GPT. The war is no longer about information. The war is about insights. What you can make out of that information, what you can actually bring out, and what difference you can bring out of that. So that's how you'll find to any solution. That's how you'll find the solution. Yeah.
Who will go next? Yeah.
Sir, regarding same issue we talked during the pandemic situation, we talking about disruption during weather conditions. Like if it is monsoon season in like Singapore, we cannot load the cargo. It will be very difficult to load the cargo. Or else it is a monsoon season in India, so there will be a problem in logistics in the railway lines or in the trucks. So, one solution can be that we can procure in advance and we keep it. So, in that case, the holding cost will increase. So, what will be the proper solution to these kind of problems?
Again, do you have any specific person in mind to whom you are
Not
okay?
exactly.
So,
When you said about the basically natural calamities, right? And I think be it now or be it ever, that situation going to be the situation, because to some extent we can predict and some extent we can't predict. So majorly, I think a lot of our friends since morning talked about digital twins, talked about data, and I think right well, Ramit was also talking about like we have data available. So based on the trend on the analytics, we have to predict like how much we can inventorize, because you only said that if we can't inventorize for next 6 months, or we can't inventorize for next 3 months. That is based on the analyticals only, that you have to make a judgmental call that how much has to inventorize and how much you can put on the risk as well. It's a risk versus return analysis. Like how much business can absorb. If the situation is absolutely beyond control, how much business can create as a leeway. I think that is the only things which can be added on to this situation.
I will modify this question a little bit and then pass it on to you. So when I was teaching them supply chain management, if I remember right, I was telling them that things with very low perishability, like a modern bread and Amul Tasa packets and all, I have never seen any shortage or excess in the last 15-20 years. So they seem to be doing a great job, and I find people who do not have the problem of perishability often suffering all these shortages and excess goods. So maybe you could
I'll
throw
just
some
take
perspective.
1 minute in adding to your question, if you said, because Domino's, as we said, we majorly deal with the perishable only when we say, because our pizza is not frozen as of now. That is the fresh delivery which happens every third day. So that's everything. Like demands goes up. Like I think Friendship Day is tomorrow, or I think in this week. So like August generally used to be like we have Friendship Day, we have Rakhi. So that planning start happening almost 3 months before, because these are the peak days for us. Like how the demand is going to go up like anything, and then we'll have demand rise in terms of the transportation, we'll have in terms of the manpower, and when we say about the December, just guess roughly ki that how much our demand goes up for December from a peak period of now into December. Any wild guess if you wanted to think like what can be the demand in December? It's much more than that. We end up hiring just for 2 months, because as you know that we operate everything put together as a manpower. We end up hiring 14,000 to 16,000 people on a temporary basis who will be into different part of the operation, like from the manufacturing, from supply chain, from our end bikers. So it's ramp up goes like that. So it's bit of that. At that time is the analysis which works, and as you rightly mentioned, we don't have the much when we talk about is the perishable waste. We still will be having a waste which is on to the where we were frozen. So we are able to predict more. And then if we talk about the logistics, I think when we compare from the GDP, I think India is still hovering around 14 to 15% on the logistics cost. And obviously, I won't quote the number right now, but I think we are the best. Jubilant was the best in terms of the catering to the logistics cost all across. So it's more dependent upon the data and more dependent on the predictability as well.
What do you?
Sorry, I took time.
No worries, no worries. Good insight. So just going to your question and then the enrichment by the professor. So, I want to give a little more generic answer, which I hope will, answer your particular query. Now, supply chain, I'm sure you all know, is made up of many branches or spokes, right? So there's logistics, there's planning, there's customer service, there's manufacturing, there's sourcing, and there's a whole ton of things, right? Now, whenever there is a problem, these are all, let's say, arrows in your quiver, right? So all of now, think of a supply chain manager as an orchestra, conductor. So you need to know what tool to take out. You need to know what kind of what arrow to take out because the problems, there are so many kinds of problems, but you have those tools, and they come with, like I said, they come with your creativity, they come with your solutions. So there will never be a boiler template, answer to, if let's say the whole monsoon thing, right? I mean, this can be tackled in 1,000 different ways, depending on the kind of team that you have, depending on the type of creativity that you have. There's so many ways to solve these questions, and also then there is a whole lot of India has its own infrastructural problems. If the monsoon was in a place like Singapore, they would manage it completely differently versus if it was in a place like India. The perishable issues. I come from the chemical industry, so we have perishables, we have hazardous goods, we have we have so many kinds of packaging. It just keeps on adding to the complexity. So what I would say is, depend on your, make sure that as a supply chain manager, you have the best orchestra, you have the best people, in your team, and then leave it to the people, leave it to their, out of box solutions. And I'm pretty sure, the kind of problems the problem that you were mentioning, it's a very, I would say very common problem in the supply chain industry. There's just, like I said, there's just so many kinds of solutions to this. But as a supply chain manager, make sure that you have the best people, the best solutions to be able to give a solution to that. Yeah.
So that would also mean our other pet peeve, think long term than only transactional short term. Would you like also to add this, or can I ask students to pose some new questions to the side?
Just
Okay.
one thought coming to my mind while I was listening to the discussions. In every sector, there will be certain things you have to absorb, because as thought leaders, we need to see beyond, as professors also said. We need to look beyond that what can happen. Like in automotive industry as well, quarter one, when we say quarter one, this is January to March, and the festive season, which is like October. Those will be peak months, you know that. So you have to plan for it. There are only two things, agility, planning. You need to plan for it. Otherwise, you can always complain and have 10 different reasons why it cannot be done. Then in NCR region, the temperature goes up very high during April, May. The operators go home to have cultivation, they go home to have celebrations, marriage function. You have to plan for these things. The 4M has to be planned. The inventory has to be planned. So all these things are needs to be taken care. And these things you need to learn to get through, to maneuver through this corporate success.
So some of the impression is that with all this technology advance, that the technology is automatically taking care. But when I look at all the talk that is going on, all the points that are coming from the various speakers, it also tells me that in one sense, maybe it is not changing that much also. The people importance has been underlined very strongly by all the speakers today. So that also is assuring to all of us that we are indeed very important. Prashant, you would like to add something or wait?
Only one thing I just wanted to add. It will take me like 20 seconds, I think. I think we talked about planet, right? We talked about people, we talked about process, right? And profit, right? And there were 3 P's in Envision. The question that came up recently, right now, and also earlier, you need to create a playbook. Right? What is playbook? It will say all the possible scenarios. And it will say how you need to execute in case this happens. So in your mind, create all the possible scenarios in that way.
And in the process become very indispensable. So who will ask the next question? I think he can, and then I will come to you. It'll be a little easy if you have specific questions, okay, to the Henkel person or the CA, whoever it is, rather than making all of them answer.
It is not a specific one, like we all are talking about making the supply chain resilient. So we talk about digitization or blockchain. So according to you as industry leaders, what are the disruptive innovation you foresee in transforming supply chain in upcoming 5 to 10 years?
Okay, so this time we go from this side.
I would like to add this because both of the questions are the same line. So, in terms of, let's say, in terms of Henkel, so what are the digital transformation that you are doing in supply chain to overcome and to plan your strategy better in terms of agility as well as handling those uncertainties?
Okay, so
Easy.
yeah, sure. And I think the previous panel answered it very beautifully. Any digital transformation, anything that we are doing, we need to start with why. Why are we doing it, right? So and there was also the question about the next 5 or 10 years. So we are actually in the middle of our strategic cycle right now, and we are building our next X years of strategy. So I actually come fresh from that. Now we are, for example, the whole digital piece, that's part of our strategy. But then we are not starting with which tools we want, like the previous panel said, we are starting with what is the problem we want to solve, what's the friction in the whole chain that we want to eliminate. So if a customer, so I don't know if, I'm sure you guys know, what is the most common question that a supply chain person has to answer? Does anyone know that? Where is my order? If a person has already ordered, what's the status of the order, right? This is a fundamental question in supply chain that one needs to answer. Now, how does digitalization solve this problem? How does my website show the status of the order? How do we bring in that transparency, that visibility, and how do we bring in the reliability? Once I have answered that, okay, it's available on 31st of July, then I must make sure that it's available on 31st of July. So again, like the professor said, right? So it's not, to me, it's not really so much about technology. It's about the question of trust. Is the customer going to trust me with whatever technologies I deploy? Is the customer going to make sure, is the customer, does the customer equate Henkel with something, values such as trust, integrity, sustainability, are these the directions that I'm taking the, strategy in? And then what are the tools I deploy? I can go to, the agentic AI, I can go to, there's so much available in terms of solutions, but the direction has to be clear. I hope I've answered, both the questions.
Anyone else would like to add to that, or can we go to the next?
Sir, coming to your answer, you have answered that it should be along with the what is our business strategy. It should align with that thing. But still, I'm not clear what you see in future, this technology is going to be means it can help in building the supply chain resilience. If you can answer one of your points so that I can align with food industry. We have different industries in front of me. So I can see that, okay, this is the common technology that can be the future in supply chain.
Sure, I can be very specific, right? So let's talk about the whole visibility problem, right? So we started with the question: how do we make our, the status of the order more visible to the customer, right? Now, which technology is going to help me in that? So partly predictive AI is helping me, but that's not the only thing that helps, right? So so I must bring my forecast to a much better level. For that, predictive AI helps. How do I bring visibility to the material which is in transit? Right now, for that, there's a ton of solutions. There is track and trace solutions available, which again use so many technologies. So to me, it's not about, like I said, it's not about a specific technology, but I will use all of these technologies to deliver on the trust that the customer is looking for. Right? So specifically, I am using AI. I am using AI to deliver part of this solution. I'm using, the industrial internet to address the part where, where's the status of my container on the sea, because that, it's a long journey from Europe to India, right? So how do I make sure that there is this visibility to that container because that contains the material? And I may do all the, everything, and then my vessel gets stuck in Suez. What do I do? Right? I still have to be, I still have to be reliable. My customer has to be able to trust me. So to me, one of the principles we have is early bad news is good news. So the moment we come to know that there is bad news coming, how do we make sure that our customer is aware? How do we make sure that they will trust us to do the right thing? How do we know that, and there's a whole ton of technologies that go behind all of this. But remember, the answer is not technology. The answer is trust. The answer is people. Yeah.
I just wanted to. I'll just add on what he was saying. Actually, there is no one tool which you can get an answer like this can be implemented today. It's an evolving tools every other week, every other day, based on the situation market is evolving. What he has added, and it applies to all industries, is basically data visibility and it's end-to-end visibility. How you connect the dots. Where most of the supply chain fails, as on today, when we say that based on the data we have available, it's the interlinking, like start from in to out. So many times departments work in silos. So even the data is available, but they are not able to integrate. So beat you ask, that's what is my assumption. Like even if I'll answer, anyone will answer, we won't be able to answer you like this tool is good for this industry, that tool is good for that industry, because it's a combination of multiple tools based on the situation. And like he mentioned, like for truck tracking, maybe they are using one solution, there's a multiple solution in the market. Like we are tracking every second also the like truck, where it's got started, how many times the doors got opened, what is the temperature. So it's data and end-to-end integration that is going to happen every industry.
See, because you are very specific about technology, I'll give you two, three very quick examples. Right? For example, I need onboard diagnostics for my truck. Right? For example, Coca-Cola in South Africa. So they need to, they have something called full beverage return. Right? So if a truck doesn't go reach checkers within 130 to 1230, 130, this whole thing is returned back. So now I can, using onboard diagnostic connecting with satellites, I can monitor this truck going instead of from point A to point B, I'll route it to point C and I will avoid that full beverage return. Example, right? Nestle Sofl had glass pieces in it. So we did a POC in Australia with Nestle Sofl. So they had like 20,000 cases which has gone out to customers. We were able to trace back using blockchain which of those specific batches correspond to which suppliers and recall them. It would have taken them 3 months, but the recall happened in 3 weeks, and it would have taken them a few $1 million, but it happened in. So there are several examples. If you are very specific about what example, we can provide.
I think we will take one last question from him, and then while answering, maybe you could also, each of you could also give a quick message to the students and to cheer them up and look at the future in a very bright way.
If you look at the history of supply chain, back in 1900s, early 1900s, it was completely vertically integrated. They are producing in-house. Post World War, with globalization kicking in, the supply chain, it led to offshoring or offshore outsourcing, leading to a complex supply chain. Now with COVID and the recent geopolitical tensions or the tariff wars, the trend shows that we will again move back to reshoring, that is moving back to the home country or something related to nearshoring. So considering the complexity of the global chain in current situation, is it really possible?
God only knows. If you believe in God.
I have a connected question. Can Ramit sir give any specific example of like how you define your supply chain strategy if you want to go to offshoring or reshoring? That is.
Yeah, sure. See, and I'll probably try to answer both your questions. Yeah. In my experience, things move like a pendulum. Yeah. So we will move towards globalization, and then suddenly forces will start acting against that. The whole globalization trend. They'll move in the other direction. And this happens not just in supply chain. This happens in politics. They'll move from right to left and then back, and and so on and so forth. This happens in every sphere of life, as per me, right? I mean, some people will say it's things come a full circle. I consider it more of a pendulum. Even in organized, HR. I don't know if anybody's an HR person here, but I have seen it in my experience. The companies will first try to move from a country structure to a regional structure to a global structure. Then they'll say, no, this is now the country. Now we have to move back to the country structure. It's a pendulum. So the whole trend piece. It will keep on moving. There will always be forces acting in both directions. When you do too much of offshoring, then suddenly the forces, will become more dominant in the other direction. You move too much in the other direction, they'll move in the other direction. And you'll see that. You'll see that in all spheres of life. That's how
the excitement of
Great
life.
point.
But you have any
It happens in all spheres of life.
any last few words to
what doesn't change is our human nature of curiosity, of innovation, of creativity, and I keep on, and then the fundamentals, right? Make sure that whenever you're joining the organization, of course, all of you already have experience, but whenever you go back to the industry, make sure that you are seen as a trustworthy person, you're seen as the person with high integrity. Those are the things, and a lot of creativity, innovation, these are the things that will take you in good stead, regardless of which technologies come and go, and learning, make sure you're a continuous learner. These are the things that will take you in good stead, regardless of technologies, regardless of trends, regardless of anything. These are the things that are timeless, according to me.
I think what he added, I'll just add on one line to that. It's dream. If you'll dream, then only you'll succeed. And the kind of the education you are into it, I think manufacturing is a field, and the supply chain is a field which is going to be the future of India. So you are into a right pace, live it and dream it, and you will be there. And this I only tell you from my experience, as I tell you a while back, I am not an engineer from background. And all along leading manufacturing, and when I see myself in such a pace, So I definitely feel proud, like if I can be without engineer can lead the manufacturing, you guys are the young blood and you are the change makers for India. So be positive, and I think what he added, integrity is the key. If you are there, you can win anywhere or everywhere.
Yeah, self-belief also.
Yeah.
Uh, just as Balram sir said that I need to motivate you, so we'll try to do that.
No, the motivation is my idea. Maybe they are already very well motivated.
No, the good thing is, after working 25 years in automotive industry, in manufacturing as well as in purchasing sourcing, I realized that this purchasing or procurement, whatever you call it, it's a fantastic tool because there are two things. One, you visit a lot of suppliers, then you start learning the process. You know, so I have been to maybe 300, 400 suppliers across the globe: China, Taiwan, Japan, Europe, everywhere. And you tend to know the different processes, different technology, different thought process of the owners. When you speak with the owners, there are some 400 crores company, 1,000 crores company, 20,000 crores company. How do they think? The kind of discussions you will have with them will enrich yourself. You start thinking, okay, he's thinking about profitability like this, he's thinking about new technology, he will come up like this, he's thinking about new IT implementers in his company. So you start getting those, insights. So that is one aspect. Second, you will also be very good in commercial aspects. You will be knowing about taxation, you will be knowing about financial ratios. You start using that. You start reading the balance sheet of the company. The company starts asking you money. I need 15% correction. It's almost 5 years now. What do? You start looking at his balance sheet. Is he really making loss? Where is he making loss? Can I challenge him? What is your negotiation strategy? Because negotiation is a strategy. It's a psychology between two people sitting across the table. If you don't know him, you can't negotiate. It's not a marketplace wherein आलू इतना में बोला मैं इतना में बोल देता हूँ चल जाएगा. नहीं होता ऐसे. Because the other guy will start taking very lightly. इसको कुछ पता नहीं है. And negotiation will only be there if you know the process and the costing part of it. So it's a very techno-commercial aspect which is through this professor. Please take it. Please, this is a very good professor which I really enjoyed being there in so many years. So this is a fantastic field, I must say. Thank you very much.
Last word, Nishant.
So I've been part of this program, right? It's been a fantastic journey. As William Gaines, we share some of these insights. But I think one more key that comes to mind, two more things, right? One is, after all those things, what it does is passion for problem solving. So many problems are there to solve. If you really solve one problem in a year, one problem, or one problem in 2 years if you solve, it will take you a long time. So to solve a problem, there are two things that you need to do. Right? Of course, this program will give you a lot of tools, right? Ammunition to help you do that. Right? So many methods are there, hundreds of things are there. How to do RCA, right? But I think two things is, one is be curious. Keep asking why. Why? One. Second is how can we do it better? Even after this program, I would want you to spend some time on thinking how we can have been made better. You can always improvise. Right? So one is why. The second one is be incisive in your conveying the thoughts that you want to convey. Right? Because you are future leaders, as Professor Shojishika said, and I don't want to forget his words. Leaders are being watched, and you will be watched, you will be scrutinized to the core. Right? If you are ready to take that challenge, nothing can beat you. That's something that I can tell you, right? With conviction. I think that's what I would just do with you. I think it's been absolutely fantastic, interacting with each one of you. And I think there's a tremendous path ahead of you. I showed you those 18 different arenas. You'll get clues, as I said, in this program. Don't forget my words. You will get clues. Where is your path? You will get that path. And it will make you successful for sure.
Thank Thank you very much. If there are any further questions, maybe when we close this session, you can have your one-to-one questions. But I think they all deserve, all the four speakers have been exemplary, and they deserve a standing ovation. And I'm very grateful on behalf of the And very importantly, all of us have no doubts about your future. We will all do very well. And we all, maybe I'm talking on behalf of all five of us and my colleague out here, Aisha. Wish you all the best, do well, be ambitious, and also have a lot of self-belief. And I'm not saying that you don't have, okay, that's not what I'm trying to say. So think big and also see how you can contribute a lot to the advancement of the world. I mean, there is a space for everyone. Thank you.
So to conclude the second panel discussion, my sincere thanks to Professor Balram for so eloquently moderating today's session, and to our distinguished panelists, Mr. Panigrahi, Mr. Mahajan, Ms. Gupta and Mr. Kaiwar, for generously sharing your insights and experiences. This conversation has offered compelling perspective on how India can build supply chains that are not only efficient and scalable, but also resilient, digitally empowered and future ready. You have reminded us that supply chain leadership today goes beyond systems and logistics. It's about strategic vision, collaboration, and making a meaningful impact at both national and global levels. On behalf of everyone present, thank you for your time and the inspiration you have sparked. We leave today more informed, more inspired, and truly wiser. Thank you so much. Now I would request Ravi to kindly facilitate Professor Balram. Sir.
So it has been great session for all of us. Thank you all. And on behalf of PGPEX-VLM batch of 26, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all the guests who have presented here throughout the day, throughout the session. Thank you so much. So the theme is Resilient Manufacturing for India by 2047. It was decided to sort of meaningful conversation within the industry leaders and the academic professionals as well as the students. I could say that we have achieved it in a successful way. So the session started with a keynote by chief guest Mr. Ashutosh Rath, who shared inspiring perspectives on transformation and innovation. Then I would like to thank distinguished keynote speakers Mr. Abhijit Pal, Mr. Anurag Srivastav, Mr. Prashant Murli Kaviyar and Mr. Rajiv Maitra for sharing inspiring perspectives on transformation, sustainability and innovation, and also guiding us and giving us the path for our futures. I would like to thank all the distinguished panelists and moderators who skillfully led dynamic discussions on digital strategy and supply chain resilience, as well as the faculty and administration of IIM Calcutta who have worked upon to make this event successful. I would like to send my gratitude to them. And most importantly, our engaged audience whose curiosity, questions and reflections gave life to every session. Thank you all of you. We'll make sure that we'll stay in touch and we'll collaborate further because we have many questions and queries.
I would like to special thanks to Prathamesh, Angel and the core team who has made this possible.